Well, you joined me in South Shields this morning, and we're delighted that we are being able to talk to Dennis and Brenda Greer, who are serving at Westow Road Baptist Church in South Shields. They return back to the States soon, but well, they're here with us this morning. Dennis, first of all, can I ask you what caused you to consider interim ministry in the UK?
Well, unlike a lot of people who have been pastors for years and years, I was in a sales position and had done that for almost 30 years. And once we got to England, I was familiar with the term made redundant. So went into retirement at a very early age, and I felt God telling me not to get another job, go to seminary and just trust Him, and He would open doors about what next was for both of us. So not needing to really get a vocational job, you know, when we started seminary, we were looking for what is it that we can do together, because we had done ministry separately for years and years and years. And when this opportunity came open, actually, Brenda found a little advertisement in a little seminary magazine about it. And we read about it, and it just looked, of course, we knew nothing about England, had never been here before, but the opportunity to come over and to pastor and to do ministry together. And, you know, there's certainly that adventure part of it that we really looked forward to. And that was a part of it as well. But I think a lot of it had to do with, oh, this is an opportunity God has given us to do something together, and something that would use the seminary education that we were getting, and all the experience that we had as well, discipleship and Bible studies and all those kinds of things, I think.
And then as you prepared to come, what were the things that impressed you about the preparations that went on while you were still in the States?
Well, when I first signed up with American Interim Pastors, Chuck sent me lots of documents, lots of documents to read. And I read every word of those for the first week or two, just reread and reread, because it did talk a lot about living in the UK. For people like us who had never set foot in England, it's very, very beneficial. Churches are operated very differently here than in the United States. That was especially good to read about how churches are organized, what their structure is, and kind of how they do church. So that helped a lot. But there were also a lot of things in there about just life in the UK. And then we got to go down to spend a weekend with Chuck and Pat, where one-on-one, face-to-face, for hours, just sit and talk about doing life in England. And, you know, they made us a pot of tea and gave us some biscuits. We'd never had that before. So, you know, they certainly did a lot to prepare us for it.
Next, and most important of all, why did you accept the call to Westow Road?
Well, when we signed up with American Interim Pastors, of course, you go through the application process and you become one of their candidates. And Brenda and I kind of made the decision at that time that we knew the churches here would be praying about the person they would invite. So we honestly made the decision that if we received an invitation, yes, we would pray about it, but we would see that as God's invitation to us. So I think our decision was made as soon as they issued us the invitation. We knew in our heart that God had worked this out.
Brenda, perhaps you can tell me what helped you in terms of preparations from this side of the ocean. What helped you in those preparations before you came to the UK?
Well, probably the most important thing that happened was we went for a weekend with Chuck and Pat. And Pat and I spent a long time talking about the grocery stores and where things were located and what types of cooking things would be in my kitchen, you know, just those practical questions that women have. So Pat and I spent a lot of time talking about that, and that was really a great help. And then just she and Chuck together, because they've spent so much time here, just making Dennis and I aware of the differences that we would find in the UK, you know, just talking about the culture and the people and their daily lives and the differences that we would see and the similarities that we would see as well. So that was invaluable information for us. I think when we went home from Houston on that day, I think we both felt like that we were really prepared. We knew. We were excited and hopeful that we would get to come to England soon. So there was also an element of anticipation that I think they built into that. They love England so much, and they really just kind of instilled that love in us as well. So that was just the very best part, was getting to spend time with them.
I know you've enjoyed your time here, Dennis, but what were some of the joys that you've experienced in the time that you've been here?
Yeah, well, the biggest joys are the people. And, that I think that's true wherever you minister. If you minister within your own culture, or if you go to a different country to minister, the joys are always in the relationships with the people. Because once you're there a few days, we're reminded that people are people. They're really no different whether they speak with an English accent, a Geordie accent, or a Texan accent. Really, people are people. And it's those relationships that really are the key to ministry. So we've had some great relationships, and the church at West Hill Road has been such a loving and accepting place. I mean, within a week, we felt like we were worshiping with our church family. We were in people's homes on a regular basis, doing hospital visits. It was just ministry, and it all goes back to those relationships, And we did have great opportunities to do Bible studies with people and to pray with people, and all those things are things that just deepen those relationships. So we've certainly seen God work in a lot of lives here, and that is always a tremendous joy, wherever you are, to be a part of what God is doing, and He is certainly at work here.
And now, Brenda, let me ask you the same question. What are the joys that stand out for you in your time of ministry here?
Oh, that list would be endless if we really sat down and tried to think of all the things. I think for me, to see the excitement in the church members as we came in, they just instantly wanted us to be a part of this church. They accepted us as though we had been there for years. They went out of their way to spend time with us and to take us places and to acclimate us to the area. They shared tourist information so that we would know the things that were most important to go see in the area. But then when I think about the ministry, for me personally, the majority of people in English churches are going to be women. And since my background and my seminary training was in women's ministry, it's just been a delight to see them kind of catch a vision for women in the church and the potential there. We've done Bible studies in women's homes as well as in our home. That's been another real sweet thing, is to have a group of women here to do Bible study. And just so many things that I've been able to fall back on, the things that I was trained to do in seminary, teaching the Bible and preparing leaders for new ministries. So many things like that have just blessed my heart for sure. And the thing is I think that the things that they've captured from the things that we've taught them, I think will continue. I think that they've caught a vision for a new ministry. And so that's always exciting to see how God's going to use that.
Dennis, finally, let me ask you, what encouragement would you give to churches in the UK to consider American Interim Pastors?
Well, some of you may wonder how an American can minister in the UK, and that's a very valid question. But after being here a couple of times, we realize that people are people. God uses people of all backgrounds and all cultures. I think the other thing to keep in mind, I hate to look at it from a financial perspective, but it's really a great deal. You have the privilege of having full-time ministry and not paying that salary. Yes, there's expenses, houses and cars and those kinds of things, but I know the times we have served in the UK with AIPM, it's busy. And you do it like you are in full-time ministry. So it is I think it's a great option. We have to consider that it is interim. We know that we're not supposed to Americanize the English churches. We come in and do ministry the way English churches do as best as we can. We keep that in mind, and ultimately our goal is to grow the church so that they can afford their own full-time British Baptist pastor. So you kind of keep that in mind, and also the fact that I think the hard part for the English churches is that there probably will be a series of several pastors that will come, and there's positives to that. They all bring their own strengths and experiences, but there's also negatives as well. It's always difficult to build relationships and then see people leave, but you're always replaced with another couple. So there's positives. I think there's lots of positives. And it's proven to us that God works through people, whether it's Americans or British.
Well, thank you both very much for sharing so eloquently your thoughts of your time here in the UK.